today with a tool that you can use to ward your home. Now, I have various things in my household set up to keep all the nasties at bay while I do magic, you know, in my household and things like that. I also have quite a few things set up in my house to protect my family. This is one of them that I wanted to work on, and basically it is using that age-old symbol, the pentagram, you know, our beautiful star, as a protective ward made out of dried roses, long stem roses. So you might be asking, why roses? Well, think about it. They're a symbol of love, obviously. Don't we all want that loving feeling, those high vibrations in our household? Yes, we do. And also, sometimes people forget how protective roses can actually be. You know, they have those thorns on there for a reason. So I'm like, what other better item to make a freaking pentagram out of than freaking dried long stem roses? I mean, come on. And I'm like, we all want that protection and that loving feeling in our household, and that's exactly why I chose to do this project. So let's talk about what you will need for this project. Number one, obviously, dried roses. So these were a bouquet that a friend of mine had, and she was about to throw them away. And I asked, you know, can I have those? You know, and I took them home and I laid them out on my table inside my kitchen and just kind of let them dry out for, yeah, I don't know, 2-3 weeks or whatever. Maybe even a month. It just sat there on the table drying. And I'm like, I just laid them all out kind of flat. So it's very important not to leave them in the bundle, because you want the airflow around them so they don't get moldy on you. And I've had that happen before, speaking from experience. So I'm like, lay them all flat, let them all dry, hang them up somewhere, you know, a nice warm room, let them dry up against a window, something like that. Whatever you can, put them where they won't be disturbed, that kind of thing. Once they're dry, you could do that old trick of spraying them with hairspray and like kind of like preserving them with that a little bit. But I'm like, to be honest, I have a lot of dried roses in my house and I've never actually sprayed them with hairspray, and they still look great. So I'm like, I'll leave that one up to you whether you want to mess with that or not. That's completely up to you. So the next thing, and you know, obviously these guys, you want them, and you're gonna need 5 of them. You want them all to be about the same length. So you might wanna cut them when they're still fresh so that they all match up to the same length, because if you don't, your star could be a little bit on the lopsided side, and I'm like, it still doesn't really matter because you can kind of turn the star until you get the best angle, which is kind of what happened to me because mine were already dried and I didn't really want to cut the stems on them and just like disturb the rose. So then you have the decision of what kind of glue you want to use. You can use hot glue by all means. You can use, I don't know, maybe even Elmer's glue, but I always go to my tried and true E6000. To be honest, I think every witch should probably have a tube of this in your arsenal because it comes in handy for a lot of those projects where you want to make, you know, your own wand or, you know, whatever. It literally, this glue works fast. It's very strong. I'm like, it's a lifesaver. I highly recommend having this, not only for your witchy stuff, but also just having it in your household. I can't tell you how many shoes I fixed with this glue. No joke. But yeah, and she works pretty quick, but not as fast as hot glue. And I feel like it's a little less messy and you're less likely to burn your fingers off. The only thing about this is it can be kind of fumey. So definitely use it in a room that has some ventilation. And you do get movement time, so when you put the dots of glue down, you can kind of like, you know, set something there and you have like a minute or two to kind of adjust it. It's not going to be instant like hot glue. So that's why I definitely like this. You can find smaller tubes or like Walmart, Target or whatever. It's for like $2 or $3. I usually always just get the big guy because I'm like, it's a big tool. I'm like, I even use this in my grimoire, you know, to like glue things in there. So I'm like, yes, highly recommend that. That's basically what you need for this product. That is the bare minimum. Some long stem roses and some glue. And I'm like, I was able to kind of like recycle my roses because this was somebody else's bouquet and I saved it. Now I bet sometimes if you go to like floral shops and stuff like that and ask if they have roses that they're gonna throw away, they might just have some lying around that they'll give you. So there is that as well. But I'm like, in general, bouquets are around $19.99 if you want to go that route. You also, if you're not really into getting fake flowers because of, environmental reasons, you can do this with just about anything, really. You could do it with sticks and some glue and make a pentagram that way. But I chose to use these guys for my project. So I definitely recommend, once you get your roses or your sticks or whatever you're going to use, lay them out on a flat surface before you even break out that glue. Lay them out. With the roses, I started with, one facing this way and literally took the other rose and stem to bud. And then down here, stem to bud. And I basically just kept that pattern going for the entire pentagram. That's basically the easiest way to do it. Lay it out first and get an idea of how everything's gonna fit, and then take it apart and start, 1, 2, 3, 4, and do it in sections. That's the biggest thing, is not to get in a big hurry, is that do, 1, 2, let that dry, and then add that next piece. You can also use like some old stones or something like that, which is what I did to kind of like weigh my roses down, because since they're dry, they kind of pop up in weird places and things like that. So I was using old stones to kind of like press them down so that the glue would set. My other tip would be pay attention to the internal geometrical shape. I cannot think of what that's called right now. Yeah, I'm gonna mangle that. But pay attention to the internal shape of the star, because those are points where you want glue to hit as well. Not only on the stem and the bud part, but you also want the inside of the star glued down as well. And that's where the stones come in very handy. Just make sure you don't glue the stone to the roses as well. But they hold it down, and that reinforces the structure, because once all of these long stem roses are up in that pentagram position and they're glued, it's actually pretty damn delicate. And I'm like, don't be flinging this thing around. Literally put it up on your wall, let it do its job, which you meant it to do, because it's pretty delicate. This is not something that you're going to make and be moving around on your altar and things like that. This is something to make and put on your wall. Let it do its job. Let it ward your home and protect you and everyone inside. So I'm like, the other thing, let's talk about consecrating it. You can use your good old intention in your hands and concentrate on that thing, meditate on it, infuse it with what you want it to do. You want it to protect, you want it to bring in those loving vibrations into your household. Set it in there, girl. So, I mean, the other thing is you can also charge it with maybe crystals. You will see in my video that I had a crystal in the center of it, and I'm like, that is an easy way to supercharge it. Also, I recommend doing this project on a full moon. The moon is gonna be full, you're gonna be making it. Why not take it outside and set it under the full moon and let that baby get supercharged with the crystal? And I'm like, the other thing, you could do a little bit of smudging if you really wanted to, like maybe some sage in there and like some rosebuds and just, But again, be careful. These things are actually pretty damn delicate. The other thing I am going to mention, if you really wanted to, you could kind of like smudge it with a spray of some kind if you want to, but I would say go lightly, because the point is that you've already dried this thing out, and if you go and anoint it with oils and too much spray, you're adding moisture back into that, and we don't want it to mold on us. That's the last thing we want. Then again, what are the correspondences for mold? One more tip before I let you go. So one of the things that I noticed when I was moving around my roses, a lot of the times the leaves fell off. and I saved them and I just put them to the side. So when I was done with the actual pentagram, I glued the roses on wherever I wanted them to kind of like, you know, just use my glue and glued the leaves on wherever I wanted them. And that just kind of like balanced the pentagram out really nicely. And my friends, that's pretty much it. I'm like, you know, you got the bare bones of how to do it, and you got some ideas of how to charge it. Now I want to see what you guys are going to come up with. You saw me, I made a pentagram out of roses. What are you going to make a pentagram out of? Maybe some straws, maybe some sticks, but anything, really. Think outside the box. And if you do a pentagram for a household protection kind of amulet or charm, freaking tag me on Instagram. Tag me. Creosote Coyote. The link will be down below. You guys can keep, you know, keep tabs on me and see what I'm doing on the fly, on the daily fly. It's all on my Instagram. And, you know, you get the little Snapchat window on there too. So I put stuff on there and Instagram. So